Alrighty, y'all. Hello and welcome. We are looking at things and experiences Americans have had abroad, especially in European countries, that, are quite different. Things that they didn't expect, they can't really comprehend. And, we've dabbled in this kind of space before, but I feel like the collection we've found today, these are quite different, quite unique. And I think it should be a pretty good episode. So, strap in. Let's take a look.
I'm going to tell Kate, my American friend, things we do in the Netherlands that will put her in a coma. First up, our breakfast is basically like a piece of bread with chocolate sprinkles on it.
What?
Do you like that?
Yeah, it's good.
I would eat that if I had nothing else in my house.
One time, I got a ticket because I was on my phone while riding my bicycle.
You don't have a car?
No, I don't have a license.
Are you not like 20? Almost?
I am 20. Yeah.
You ride a bike everywhere?
Yeah.
And you
That's what they do.
Take on your phone.
Yeah.
How much was the ticket?
120.
That's crazy.
That is actually like such a Dutch headline right there, right? Getting a ticket for using your phone on a bicycle. That is actually so hilarious because it sounds spot on, right? I have never heard of that happening here. We definitely get tickets, but of course it would always be car related. If you're on a bike, you're kind of under the radar, right? No one's paying attention, which is also why it's scary to ride a bike here.
Yeah, I know. When we go to the store, we don't get a plastic bag. You need to bring your own, or you can pay for a bag at the store.
They do that in a couple states here. They actually mandate that, but of course, nationwide, for the most part, it's not common. That is something a lot of Americans would have to get used to, for sure, right? You show up with no bag, what are you going to do with all that stuff?
Okay, that one's not that crazy because
Aldi
does that.
Aldi does that? Okay, Aldi's European, so that makes sense. They do
Right,
that.
Aldi's European, so that makes sense, but they, if you do show up with no bag, you have to buy a bag, right? So at least they have a way out, right? I mean, it's going to cost you. Luckily, it's cheap. But I'm just thinking of if there's any stores that don't let you buy a bag, you're truly screwed. Because I feel like I've heard of that happening to Americans before.
I don't know. She's lying. We do not buy water in the store. We don't drink bottled water.
What do you drink? Like
From the tap?
From the ocean.
From the
Yeah, they drink salt water from the ocean. It's that's what mineral water is, right? It's really, really interesting stuff.
We just drink tap water.
Like from the sink?
Yeah, but it's drinkable. We're at work and we're definitely not allowed to film. When you go to the club and you show up at midnight, you're too early and nobody's gonna be there. It's not gonna be fun.
Well, what time do they
Damn, that's wild.
4 or 5.
That's great. That's insane.
Yeah, that to me is insane. As someone who, been in very, a little bit into that life when I was younger, dude, you're going to the club at 9 or 10. You know what I mean? Concerts starting at 8, 9, or 10 are like late concerts. You know what I mean? Like, there's different angles, but for the most part, right? I mean, dude, getting there at midnight and that's still considered early, and then going hard until 4 or 5 a.m., that is, wow. Wow. I don't know how y'all do it. That is some hardcore stuff. Yeah, most Americans, myself included, no way. That's way too late. I mean, dude, it's literally morning time. I'm definitely asleep by then.
When do you go to the bar?
Like 10.
Yeah.
Around like 9:30.
Yeah, there is nobody in that bar. You're gonna be the only person in there if you go at 10. When you
That is hilarious.
congratulate someone or just in general, you give 3 kisses.
Like on the lips?
No, on the cheeks.
Okay, I feel
Yeah,
like
that's not a thing here.
Yeah, so that's an actual thing.
Yeah, that's something Americans maybe have seen in shows on TV or whatever, but not in person. That's never a thing here.
Imagine it's my mom's birthday and there's guests coming, they will congratulate me because it's my mom's birthday. You congratulate the entire family. And
Interesting.
friends even too.
That's so weird.
Yeah, that is
Imagine
bizarre.
You buy a bottle of soda.
From our perspective.
Our cap, like, it doesn't come off
Yeah,
entirely.
let's
Like,
go.
you can unscrew it and it will still be attached to the
Let's
bottle.
go. The Euro caps.
Wait, what? Sorry, I wasn't listening. I forgot all.
The the cap just never comes
smart,
off.
so you don't lose the cap, but like that would like aggravate me. Like when I
Oh,
was
she's really locking in at American stereotypes for us. She just didn't hear that part at all.
gonna drink it, and it would keep like
Yeah, being air
aggravating me.
Yeah, so it's like
Love
an
it.
environmental thing. You know, Americans don't really care about that, but
I did a speech on the Netherlands in high school.
yeah.
There is something that put me in a coma. In America, they close the bars at 2 at New Year's Eve. OMG, in the Netherlands, they close at 6 a.m. Holy crap. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, we should do it a little later for New Year's Eve, right? I mean, that's a once a year big deal. You're welcoming in the new year. You know, no one usually has to work or go to school the next day. I mean, people should try and stay up. I mean, it's hard though, right? A lot of people just don't. They wait for the, midnight ball drop, so to say, right? And that's it. Like some people are off to bed 15 minutes after that.
Got to Prague, I thought Czech people were like a little mean, but they're honestly just like brutally honest. Like the other day, I was getting my hair cut. I showed the stylist my reference image, which was a photo of me. She looks down and she looks back up at me and she's like, "This is gonna look terrible on you." Like, Jesus, like, okay, like, what should I get instead? She says, "Don't worry, I'll make sure you look good." I'm like, okay, cool.
There you go.
You do that. So she starts cutting my hair, and an hour later, I end up with this haircut, which honestly looks so much better than what I usually get. It, like, frames my face much nicer. Like, she was 100% right. So example 2. I was in the thrift store. I wanted to buy a trench coat because all the Europeans have one, and I was feeling left out. So then I go up to the cashier's counter with my choice, and she, like, looks at it. She's like, "Is this for you?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Don't get it. It'll look bad on you. It'll make you too short." It's like, okay, cool.
Wow.
She takes me
He's getting
over
real
to the sales rack.
advice.
She's seen one that was $10 cheaper and says, "Try this on." I'll just show you because I obviously ended up getting it. Moral of the
There
story
you go.
is Czech people aren't mean. They're just really fucking real. When I first got to Prague,
That's what I've heard. That's a stereotype about a lot of countries, right? I've heard it about the Czech Republic as well, right? And that's kind of like, at first it might be jarring, like maybe he thought, right, as Americans, because again, like, it's weird. Like, people are pretty good overall, right? Of course, there's every stereotype and every personality here, but for the most part, people are well-meaning, And I'm talking about down on the ground, right? Like, obviously, in news cycles and politics and stuff, we're very, like, divided, and it's very polarizing, at least it seems that way. But, like, on the ground, just people living life, like, people generally get along, right? And no one, at the end of the day, it kind of feels like, are you really getting the solid opinion, solid advice on stuff, right? Especially like him trying to dress, trying to pick a haircut. He got real talk in Prague, whereas in America they might have just said, "Yeah, that'll look okay," and they just take your money and there's your coat, even if it looks horrible. You're not going to find that a lot over here. Being brutally honest is, honestly, in practice, it's usually a good thing. I like that they're so helpful, and that jacket is an A++. Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. People will actually appreciate that, even Americans abroad, I think. It'll be shocking at first, but I feel like if you're a decent person, you'll learn to appreciate it.
So I've been living in France for about 7 months now, and here are some funny things about French culture from an American perspective. And these are going to be kind of niche and random. Number
Cool.
1, French people do not walk and drink. Drinking anything like non-alcoholic is very much a multitask activity for Americans. French people take their drinks
all
very
the time.
seriously, and they don't walk around with it. They don't walk around with coffee. They always sit down to have an espresso, to have a cappuccino. So
Yeah.
right now I'm sitting here and I'm drinking this Coke, and if I was walking around with it, it would be very not French of me.
See, that's funny because, yeah, that is just, dude, people are always on the go with any drink. A can of Coke, a bottle of water, coffee, whatever it is, right? I mean, it's in your car, you're drinking it while you're driving it, you're taking it with you into the store, you're drinking it in the store, you know what I mean? Like, it is always on the go. People that work outside are drinking while they're working. Like, it's funny how that's just not as much of a thing in other countries. I wonder how that difference even happens. But I know part of it's got to be, unfortunately, or I feel like a little bit of like toxic work culture here where you just got to be in a rush all the time. Americans usually feel like a little stressed and like always got to rush because we work so much, we barely get time off, and you got to work overtime to just try and pay the bills. And you know what I mean? Like, I feel like we've become obsessed with go, go, go all the time, right? We've seen that theme before, and it even trickles down into things like that, I feel like.
As soon as I see a person walking around with a can in their hand, I know that they are not French. And also piggybacking off of that, for here or to go in France is taken very seriously. In America, it doesn't really matter. Like if you get a Starbucks, it's going to come in the same cup. But here they use a lot of reusable items. And this is even true at fast food places like McDonald's. So when you order something, you can't decide later whether or not you're going to stay or you're going to go. You have to know right then. Okay,
That's right. That is so...
So when you order something...
Look at that. Oh my God, I forgot about that. I've only seen that one other time. That is literally McDonald's, like as fast food as it gets, at least in my head. But you have a actual, hard container for the fries that is reusable. I've never heard of that in my life here for any place. And then you have an actual glass or maybe a plastic cup, but it's not a to-go one, right? Like it's an actual dine-in restaurant cup at McDonald's. That is not a thing here. That is so crazy.
You can't decide later whether or not you're going to stay or you're going to go. You have to know right then.
That's a big difference.
This is kind of a stereotype. The PDA here is different. In America, it is very much considered not socially acceptable to just make out with your partner in public. They do it everywhere here.
You can do that, but you're going to get some looks, right? People try to find somewhere way out pretty private if they're going to do that. If you're doing that in a crowded space, you're going to get some hella weird looks and probably some comments if you do it a lot. Here.
I don't mean like, ooh, a pet goodbye. I mean like passionate, romantic. Where this always catches me the most off guard is in the morning at peak commuter time on the metro. People saying goodbye to their lovers. It's a show. It is so hard to look away, especially when you come from a culture where that is not normal.
No, that's not normal here.
People would heckle you until you would get a room. I was seeing this French guy for a few months and it was a learning curve. Number 4, this is a really fun one. The dog culture here is so different. I think before I moved here, I didn't know French people were that into dogs. I think that there's kind of a cat stereotype culture around Paris, and obviously you just don't see them as much because they live inside houses, but French dogs are so well behaved, like impeccably so. I would say it's actually more rare to see a dog on leash than it is to see a dog off leash. Before I lived here, I lived in Boston, so coming from another big city, you cannot have your dog off leash in a big city. Like you would get fined, you would get yelled at. And here,
I think there's almost regulations for that depending on where you live here in the U.S. Because you can get some big trouble if you have your dog off leash and they cause a ruckus, they attack someone, they attack another dog, right? Like that's a whole big deal. That's a risk most people aren't taking here. That's kind of crazy. I didn't even think about pet culture in general and all these thousands of topics I feel like I try to learn about and cover between different countries. I never even thought about pet culture in different countries. That might be something worth, kind of looking into here and there. So big dog ownership and just different dynamic, very disciplined, behaved, and mostly off leash. I think that's quite impressive because that is just not a thing. Like people, of course, try to teach their dogs to behave and stuff, but there's just too much going on in the U.S. You cannot have your dog off the leash. That's just not happening.
You just see dogs walking down the street and you're like, is that a stray dog? And it's not. It's just that the owner is like 50 feet ahead, but they know that the dog is following them. Like they know the dog is not going to run off. Also, the dogs do not give a single shit about anyone that is not their owner. They will not pull up on their leash to come and say hi to you. And if you ask to pet them, they're kind of like, okay, like they don't really care.
Right.
They're typically really well behaved around other dogs as well. So those were just a few cultures.
So European people, and they could vary, of course, Europe is a big place, but European people are different than Americans. And even the damn dogs are different. Oh my God. We have one of the rare French that drinks all the time while they're walking. Is that why people keep talking to me in English? Probably. Drinking while walking is so difficult. I mean, that's why you have the straw. I think the straw helps alleviate that. And people are obsessed with their, whatever new trendy cup there is with a fancy straw and fancy design and you name it. Yeah, if you're haven't been down that rabbit hole, oh my God, don't bother. American, consumerism is crazy.
Craziest thing about going to Europe as an American for me was seeing the way that white people's skin ages in its natural habitat. Because I've lived in California my entire life, and my skin has visible sun damage everywhere. Like, you know, there's these sunspots, these freckles, these like really fine lines that come from tanning and burning and blah, blah, blah. And everyone I know who's white, who has lived in the same area, they have a similar situation. If you look closely, there's sun damage all over their skin. I'm not saying it's a tragedy. I'm just saying like that's a fact of life. Back. That's just what happens. When I went to Poland, for the first time ever, I saw white people who were like full grown, like 50-year-old adults with basically no sun damage. Like, if you looked at them, obviously they were like, you could tell that they were 50. They had normal wrinkles from like being alive for that long and smiling and laughing and whatever. But like, they didn't have like sun damage wrinkles or spots or freckles or anything. They didn't have like any of this stuff. They were just like flat white. Like just completely white. Like alabaster. And it was crazy because I've never even like seriously thought that was possible. I didn't know. I mean, I guess I know it makes sense historically that if your skin evolved for that place, it wouldn't get damaged. But I've just never seen that before in America ever. Yeah. And it was just so shocking to me. And it just made me think about how unfit for the environment white people truly are in America.
This one's kind of interesting. I wonder, like at face value, it seems a little bit anecdotal, right? But it could be somewhat true-ish, right? With a little bit of research. You know, like to be fair, the U.S. as a whole, if you're in the contiguous 48 states of the U.S. and or even Hawaii, you know, you're going to be at least 5-6 months a year, 7 months a year, you're in a place that gets hot. I mean, even in the northern U.S., where it would, you know, technically be colder and not as sunny, then of course the Sun Belt in the south, you know, the U.S. as a whole is pretty sunny from what I have seen, you know, in weather stats. Strong sun, you know, hot temperatures, at least in the summer and, you know, early, you know, late spring and stuff. So, you know, people here do tend to get a lot of sun. And so sun damage and tanning and things happens a lot to people here, you know, no matter how much they can help it, I feel like. Now, I can see that, you know, technically maybe someone in Poland or Latvia or, you know, Ireland or something, maybe they don't get as much sun as someone in, you know, Missouri or Kansas or Florida in the U.S., right? I think we can probably agree on that. Like, without using stats, it just seems like that would be true. But then again, I'm sure, you know, if we actually go to the comments, you know, I'm sure this can happen anywhere. Because I've also heard that people go to Europe and surprised at how hot it feels in the summer, how strong the sun is. So it just kind of, I feel like, depends. Keyword natural habitat, cold and rainy places with very little sun. Not true in all cases. If you come from families of farmers and others who work outdoors, you will see sun damage and in some cases even skin cancer in Poland. Like my own family, wear sunscreen, please. And see, there you go, right? I mean, this can happen to anyone, anywhere. You still have to be careful. You have to be conscious of how much sun you're getting. You have to wear sunscreen if you're going to be outside or working outside a lot, even if you're in Poland versus, you know, Florida. Someone adds, older white people in richer European countries also have sun damage because they go to tropical climates once or twice a year and burn themselves to oblivion. A lot of the ones who don't do that fry themselves regularly in solariums instead. And finally, this is true, right? Most of Europe is much more north than the U.S. We don't realize that Nashville, which is like just under center, like it's not that, you know, it's not north, but it's not super south either. Nashville, Tennessee is on the same latitude as Morocco, which is literally in Africa. So that is very interesting and kind of points to how that works.
An American accent is the worst thing that could happen to you if you move to Europe. When I lived in the Middle East and I spoke English, they would be like, oh, you speak English. When I moved to Asia, they were like, oh, you speak English. When I moved to Europe, they were like, oh, you're American.
Oh,
An American accent is the worst thing that could happen to you if you move to Europe.
Bad?
When I lived in the Middle East and I spoke English, they would be like,
unfortunately, there seems to be many reasons for that. But come on, guys. Calm down. We're not all that bad. Nothing catches a more European side eye than an American accent. Having an American accent as a European is even worse. That's crazy because I feel like that'd be a hard thing to look up. But I've heard comments from people. Maybe you can add to this yourself or correct me. I heard that obviously people in European countries tend to learn more languages than we do over here. And when some people learn English, depending on which country they're in and who their teacher is and all this stuff, some people learn more of like a British style English, or have some sort of European accent with their English, whereas some Europeans learn like an American style English, and so they sound like an American. I think you get my point. Like some Europeans sound maybe almost like an American. I've seen this in street interviews. I've heard like Dutch people that speak English, and it sounds like they could be from here. Like they're totally understandable to me. They don't sound foreign.
So I'm an American. I live in Spain. And something that always gets me is I kind of forget. I don't know if it's like cancel culture just isn't really ever. Like my American mind is always boggled. So I'm an American. I live in Spain. And something that always gets me is I kind of forget. I don't know if it's like cancel culture just isn't really as big of a thing here. Because like in the United States, you can't get away saying anything. Like you
Which
get canceled.
Is ironic, right?
So I've grown up being so careful of what I say.
We're the country of freedom and freedom of speech, right? But we've such a soft society nowadays, which is very annoying because it's like, dude, people get offended by everything. I feel like you can't talk, right? You feel like you got clamps on that mouth there because you can't let it roam. Here in America, someone's going to like cancel you. I think it's terrible, honestly. I feel like people in other countries, I'm sure she's going to get to this. I feel like other people are probably more outspoken, which is like, dude, how it should be. It's not that big of a deal, man.
All the time. And here in Europe, they just don't do that. And as an American, I'll be around someone and they'll just say something to me and I'm like, and I'll give you some examples. Right. Okay. So getting drinks with some people and a girl walked past and she was holding a McDonald's bag and someone said, she doesn't need that, am I right? I'll hear this one all the time. Someone will be like, oh, that area is dangerous. It's a really dangerous area. There's just a lot of immigrants. I was in a club one time and I met this German girl and I was telling her I was from the United States and she goes, you're from the United States? But you are not fat. You do not look like you're from the United States. In Ireland.
Yeah, that is very out there. I mean, look, at the end of the day, you can have an opinion on it. That's fine. But like those things aren't, world-ending statements, right? Like maybe they're a little cheap. Maybe they're a little, rude. You could say whatever, right? Depends. But it's not that of the world, in my opinion. But unfortunately, she is right. If you said those types of things here, someone would be just pearl clutching, like super offended. And, like you can actually lose your job and stuff for like some pretty tame takes on things. It's really weird here in the States for being so pro freedom of speech. It's very odd position to be in.
There are these two Swedish guys. And they were just fully talking about the girl sitting next to them about how fat she was. Full voice. Just talking about how fat she was. I have a coworker at my work.
I mean, I feel like that's their right to do that. I also feel like, morals are a thing, right? I feel like I wouldn't do that because that's kind of unnecessary. Like if someone's bigger, they probably know that, right? I think if someone's extremely like medically red alert big, maybe someone should tell them and remind them like, hey, maybe you should, get some help or something. Like maybe that's a thing. But like saying cheap jokes about someone that's bigger, it's kind of like, yeah, you should be able to say that. But at the same time, it's like, okay, like, haha, so funny, so original, like that's my take on it. But at the end of the day, it's just not a big deal, I feel like.
And never fails. Every single time my manicure is chipped, she goes, Katie, tú necesitas arreglar tus uñas. Literally like, you need to fix your nails.
Yeah.
She'll literally be like, so ugly. They're so ugly.
Damn.
I had a Spanish guy just like point at my stomach one time. I was wearing a crop top and he just goes, wow, you're so white. I was like, I'm never skipping self-tan Thursday ever again. I was on a date with this guy. Oh, this is so bad. And he went up to the counter to pay, and the guy who was checking us out was clearly Asian. And he looks at him and he goes, you're not from here. Yeah, he never saw my face again.
Oh
ever.
My God. Oh
like,
my God.
My American mind is always boggled.
It depends on the person, right? Some people might make jokes like that, but it would be in private. It wouldn't be like out in the open in front of people, like, or the person you're joking about. So yeah, it's pretty bold. And this comes to, again, like the whole, stereotype of Europeans are more direct and just say it, like it is, right? And at the end of the day, I feel like I kind of respect that more. And then, beyond that, I mean, you could make an argument of whether or not certain things are necessary to say, but yeah, it's definitely a difference, that's for sure. And she's right. In the U.S., I feel like in this day and age, even compared to 20 years ago when people seem to be more relaxed here and in this day and age, it feels like you really gotta like watch your mouth in public. It's kind of weird. Apparently in Europe, and yes, I talk about Europe as a whole, people are more direct. Yeah, that's what we always hear, and that seems to be the case. It was shocking to me to see in the U.S. the channel MTV muting bad words from songs. I'd never seen that canceling before. That's actually shocking to me, too. I've heard this in other countries. They don't really censor a lot of words and songs and certain things in shows, even in broad daylight, like hours. They don't do much, if at all, censoring. And again, I feel like it's ironic as someone who always hears, right, my whole life, America's freedom. But like, look at all the censoring, right? It's pretty weird. It's like a weird, like this weird hypocrite perspective you end up seeing, right? It's like, are we freedom of speech and freedom of expression or not, right? It's very odd.
Some differences between the United States and Eastern
Czechia.
Europe, specifically Czech.
Ooh, she gonna start a war in the comments. She said, differences between Eastern Europe and America. And she said, specifically Czech. Hey, I didn't say it. Y'all go, type at her.
Live in both Europe and the United States. This is wild to me, but people here let their kids be in poop in public, like on the side of the grass, and they'll pick it up with like dog bags.
Is that true? I'm going to let you guys sort that out because I, of course, wouldn't know that if that's true or she's exaggerating. I'm sorry. I did not expect that. I told you I'd find clips today that try to be a little more different than we've seen before. That's always the goal. That is different. I did not expect that. Okay, moving on. This ought to be good.
Very much acceptable here, not to my standards, but to see people hitting or slapping their baby or child for crying or misbehaving, or even their dog. Like, this was something I still struggle with seeing.
Yeah, I imagine that varies very greatly across different countries in the world, right? Discipline, physical touch, slapping, spanking, all that type of stuff, depending, and with pets, with kids, whatever, right? That's hard to judge too. That could be by family, right? You could find people that do that here and people that don't do that. People that do that in Czech Republic, people who don't do that, right? I feel like that's too hard to grasp and put that on a whole country. That's just my perspective. Maybe that is very common there or very common in certain countries. I feel like she's right. As an American, you don't see that nearly as much, maybe, as you did decades ago here, typically.
When you are signing any sort of legal document here, they make you use blue ink.
Really? Okay.
I asked them why this is, and they said that it's easier to copy something with black ink, so they use blue ink for everything.
That makes sense.
When you walk around here, every young female has kids. Like, almost every single one. In the United States, I think that life is just so unaffordable. And the maternity leave,
unfortunately,
isn't really a selling point, so people aren't having kids as much.
True.
Also, the maternity leave here is about 3 years of paid maternity leave per child. That's wild.
3 years? Did she? Okay, I gotta look that up. 3 years. I've already known that as a whole, other countries get way more respect for the people, right? Like, they get way more time off and, have some sort of sacred time when they have a child. But 3 years? Because, by the way, federally mandated, there's nothing here in the U.S. You're on your own. Yeah, this actually says in the Czech Republic, right? It can vary. You get like 28, 37 weeks, paid 70% of salary. And you actually get to start before birth as well. I think that's freaking awesome. But it does say that you can literally get parental leave for 3, even 4 years, which is incredible. And it will be somewhat paid. I'm assuming, or it'll be like work flexible, like you can work sometimes, but then gets chunks of time off. At least that's what I'm seeing here. Pretty damn impressive. I mean, this is literally unbelievable to see as an American. I mean, that is incredible. The fact that you can start actually before your due date for even like the standard maternity leave where you're getting paid a solid amount, right? And then, you know, getting an additional 22 weeks after birth when you just started 6 to 8 weeks before birth. I mean, these are incredible. Wow. Dude, this is not a thing. Not a thing in the US. You have to be lucky enough to have a job that says, hey, our company will give you some maternity leave. And usually it's 1 or 2 months. That's it. If you're very lucky, maybe you have a company that gives you 4 months off or something. But that's it. Like, there is no 6 months off. There's no year off. There's no 2-year parental leave, like 3-year. Like, that is not a thing here at all. Sadly, for most people, they have to have a kid, and within a few days, they better get back to work. Otherwise, their job is at stake. That is truly wild. Very impressive, Czech Republic.
Most people make a very similar salary no matter what you do for work here.
Okay.
The minimum wage
that's
is like
odd.
4 to 6 euros an hour. But if you're like a doctor or something, you're making like 25, maybe 30 grand a year. Let me know if you guys want more.
Look, these were interesting because they were different. Now, I'd say there's a lot of generalizations. I don't know if I quite believe her on the salary thing, but then again, I wouldn't know, right? And I'm not going to research different job salaries right now. That would be for another video. You guys can comment that if you would like. And this is going to, of course, this is too variable, right? Of course, every country in Europe is going to have different things. Czechia is going to be a lot different than England. It's going to be a lot different than Albania, right? But yeah, I will say that was quite interesting just because it was a lot of different stuff, especially that first one. Dear God, was that not expected? Wow, I'm going to cut it there. That was something to end on, wasn't it? There's actually more I screeched for this, so hopefully another time we could do another episode of something similar to this because I found a lot of good clips. And boy, I mean, this really gets my American mind rolling because it's just so fascinating to discover similarities, but more so differences between different lifestyles, different scenarios, working in different countries, living in different countries. And also the, the irony of things, how, we've seen things like you can cross the road in most countries. It's just not a big deal. Whereas here, that's jaywalking. Like, that's literally, you get fined for that. You see what I'm saying? Like, the U.S. is just odd sometimes. I feel like this is going to be a great one for comments, so I can't wait to see you down there. I had a lot of fun. I hope you did as well. I appreciate you being here and watching, and hope to see you again. That's all. My name is Ian. You're watching IWrocker. Until next time, y'all. Catch you later.